Well, it's been a little while since I've put together one of these whiteboard sessions. I'm pretty excited. This actually came about based on some conversations with the team that I'm managing. And one of the things that I don't know, bothers me or is a consistent theme in a lot of my work is people tend to focus on the sales process and the sales cycle and don't think as much about buyer behavior. And one of the challenges we consistently confront in the sales process is understanding where the buyer really is in their process, right? Because nobody says to you, this is a year away and we're looking at putting together a budget and we're probably not going to do anything anyway. Could you come and spend a bunch of time with us? In fact, what they say is, we're ready to go and could you please come out and do a demo and take us to dinner and all that fun stuff. So the problem really is, how do you figure out where you are for real in the sales process? And that's what this is all about. So just a quick note, at the bottom of this video, you should find a link, maybe a little pop-up. You can actually download everything that I'm about to put on the paper here. It's kind of a handy little chart. So the title is, When Does Buying Really Happen? And as we all know, buying really starts, and I've done a bunch of videos on this with the concept of need, so I won't belabor that point, but need has two critical components, right? Need is either pain, right, desire to avoid pain, or gain, the desire to access some sort of solution. The question is, once you've happened upon a particular pain point or future desired state, what really happens next? How do we know how far along they are in evaluating this? So first thing, let's talk about the idea of an individual in the organization that you're talking to you about it, right? So when somebody's talking to you about their problem or their situation, what does that really mean? Well, in my world, I call that a concept, right? Nothing more. It's not a corporate initiative necessarily. It's not an active project, and we'll go through these terminology. The idea is people often refer to things that they're working on as mission critical, and it has the full support of the executives. Well, how do we know? So first level of test really is at the individual level of talking. We're going to call it a concept. At the point where we learn that there have been internal conversations, right? Multiple people talking about this, socializing, I'm going to call that an idea, right? Versus a concept. Still interesting, but nothing's really happened yet. Now, what about when we introduce the concept of formal meetings? Have they met internally? Do they have a steering committee that meets once a week? Do they have a status group, etc.? Well, at that point, I'm going to rate whatever we're working on as a potential initiative. And an initiative, there, my spelling's awesome. And that's a really important thing because it could be initiative, but not necessarily. One of the things I'm going to point out, and I'll be doing some annotation throughout here, when I get to these three levels, when I'm talking about this, at this point, they have not committed or invested any real time, right? They haven't done anything. They haven't spent any real energy on the project. So that's very important because a lot of times you're dealing with, concepts, ideas, potential initiatives. There's no commitment or investment from the prospect, yet what they want you to do is to come out and do a presentation and a proposal and start doing all this work. And I'm not a big fan of that now. Drawing on the left's not a bit trickier. Really, when we're talking about these three areas, and I'm not going to go into detail with this, this is what not just myself, but most sales professionals refer to as latent need. Something is there, a problem exists, but it hasn't been fully fleshed out. All right, let's keep going. Switch colors here. So once we move past this concept of formal meetings, we can test for and ask questions about, have there been specific objectives set and milestones identified, related to this need, to this, so-called project. A great question to ask here is, by when do you hope to have these things accomplished? What specific, we want to improve our revenue. Great. By how much next year? Well, a lot. Well, that's very fluffy, so we're not here yet. If they can say, well, we want to grow 2% and that's this much, might be an objective. By when is a milestone? When we get here, I'm going to call this a planned or a likely initiative. Still hasn't taken action yet, no investment's been done, but at least they're starting to think about it. Okay, what's next? Individual accountabilities, right? One of my favorite questions is, who in your organization has been tasked with accomplishing these goals and by when? Great question. Accountabilities. I love all the spelling here. And when I can identify individual accountabilities, I'm going to actually call this a company initiative and say that we've attained initiative. You think this is the third or fourth time I do it. We've attained the level where something is gonna happen, right? What I would actually tell folks is real need starts here, right? This is latent need. Great to be in the sales process up here, right? Great to come in, but you're not really selling it. You're helping them develop ideas. This is where the real need is articulated, and these are wonderful places to enter the sales process. The problem is it may be too far along. Another vendor may have already come in. So I would say, enter here if a strong need equals your compelling value, right? This is the area you really want to be careful to just throw your hat in the ring. It may not be a good idea, but it may be a great idea. Okay, we'll keep going. Now we get down past this concept of individual accountabilities, and what we're going to look for are the presence of formal plans. One of the things that I find fascinating is that organizations talk about these massive projects, spending millions of dollars. It's important to the business, it's critical to our future success. And you say, great, do you have a project plan? Have you laid out any sort of a roadmap? And they say, well, no, we're just kind of talking about it. Well, formal planning is something that's absolutely critical for success of large-scale projects. It's also how organizations work. So if you don't find a formal plan, I'd be very suspicious. When I find a formal plan, I'm going to actually say that what we have in place is a planned project, right? Project meaning specific action, execution, resources, etc. And then finally, if we've had formal plans and it's advanced past that, what I'm going to look for are how are they tracking and reading out results. If you're already working on this, if it's been going for 6 months, what results have you accomplished? How do you capture those? How are you measuring progress, etc.? And that is, in my vernacular, an active project, meaning it's something the organization is actively working on. Now, let's be clear. If you come in at this spot right here, somewhere around here, you are too late. I actually also call this column number 3, right? The joke is if you're coming in at this stage and they're saying, oh, we need a proposal by Friday, you're column fodder. You're the third bid that they need to get this past the CFO or make sure the vendor they've chosen isn't overcharging them. So be very careful. This is almost never a place you're going to want to come into the sales process. So I hope this makes sense and gives you a way to really think about when you're talking with your prospect, anchoring their conversation and what they're saying in reality, and making sure that you're really selling to where they are in the buying process and not getting out in front of the headlights. Thanks so much. Look forward to your comments below. And as always, leave a question or send me an email with a question if I can be of any assistance.